All right, so this probably looks pretty familiar. It's a comic book scene to a degree. You can see that I'm going to have something going on in the top left and the top right, bottom left, bottom right, and then I have these little ruts here. I'm going to put some yes or no buttons in there. Okay. If you look down at my timeline, you can see here that I have a bunch of things going on, right? So I have the rectangles and all of that. What I want to do is make this a background that I can lock. So I'm just going to simply select everything. I'm going to right click it and group it, right? Something we've done a million times before in Photoshop and all that. Then I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to call it frame, because that's exactly what it is. And then I'm going to lock it. And I'm going to do all that just so when I'm up here messing around with my characters and doing stuff, it doesn't get in the way. Yeah? So as you can imagine, there's going to be a scene here, an opening scene. For those of you that are really going to get into something, you can have maybe a slide previous that is nothing but setting up your scene. It's up to you. But I just want to show you one layer, one question, and then how those results are going to be. And then, of course, you'll go ahead and organize and design the rest. So I'm going to start with, as you can imagine, a character. And this is Articulate 360. I imagine most of you will have this. I'm going to go with an illustrated sense here, and I'm going to go medical. I'll go medical. And all you have to do is select the character that you want. So now that I have Amber, I can kind of look here and see that I want her, what I want her to do. And I'm just going to go maybe this way. And I'll have her basically walk in. So it doesn't seem like a very good walk pose. I also don't like how tall she is. So I'm going to lessen things up here a little bit. Here's something cool. You could see that I have this scene here, and maybe I want it to appear as if she's walking behind something. All I have to do up here, when I'm in my design, now remember I can click on anything. When I click on the character, I get my design and format tools. But in this design sense, you see that I have a crop option here, and that's exactly what you think it is. What I'm going to be able to do is just grab down here and push up, line it up, click outside, and now you can see that she is just kind of standing there in her own realm. Now, if I want to get into the specifics of moving her very precisely, I don't know if you can see that, but it looks like she's a little low there. What I can do is right-click on her, go down to Size and Position, click on Position then, and mess with my vertical here. You see how she's moving just ever so slightly? It's a good way to do things pixely versus with your arrow and all that. So now everything looks good there. I believe so anyway. So next up is just simply maybe we're going to do an animation with her and working with states. Okay? So I want her to kind of cruise in here, but then turn and, let's say, look at us. Okay? What I can do with that is click on her, okay? And then I want to add a state. So I'll go down here and I'm going to go to States. Edit States. We've done this in class. Click my new state. And then it says State Name, New State. I'm just going to say Turn. And then hit Add. Now we know what I have this new state here. It's blue, so anything in this active state that's blue, I can just do stuff and things up here in the stage and it'll reflect. So I'm going to go up here to, well, let's do pose first. So she's walking in and she's going to look at us and maybe ask a question, huh? So I like this hands out. And I also want to change her perspective so she's looking at us. There we go. Then I'll just click back and forth to make sure that makes sense, which it seems to. So then we're good. I'm going to hit Done Editing. Now what I'm going to do is add that animation that I talked about, right? So I want her to come in off stage. So I know, just like most things that we do, I can just come up here and click on Animation. And we know that I want her to enter the stage, so I'm going to say Entrance Animation. There's a lot that we can do to make this a little bit more natural. That's what you're going to do in the advanced authoring. But for now, just do a quick fly-in, as they say. Fly in just means, just like in PowerPoint, it's going to come in from the side. I'm going to do about 0.75 so it doesn't look like she's sprinting. And then I'm going to go to Effect Options, and that way I can say where she's going to fly in from, which I'm going to choose left. And that's it. So now she is going to cruise in. Some things that I may be able to do now here is, and I'm just going to show you this because it'll give you an option here, right? So I'm done. I'm going to go down here to Timeline. And I know that her animation is 0.75 seconds long, right? So what I can do, because I want her to change the state when she comes into the screen, what I can do is just tell myself that I want her to change the state after the animation completes. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of go over into our triggers panel, and we're going to click on this, and we're going to say what? Going through here, we know change of state because that's what I wrote down. So I definitely want to change the state. And then they're asking me on what object. Of course, I didn't name it, so I have to go through, and she's the only character, so I'll just say character 1. Of course, I want to go on state turn. And now here's my option of when. So when I go to when, you can see in 360, as I come down here, I actually have the choice of animation completes. So the moment that I put an animation on anything, it gives me the option of animation completes. So when I select that, the only thing that I have to do now is select which animation, right? And of course, you can only have one animation per character or per object. So you can see that it's right here, animations on character 1. So I was able to write down on a piece of paper when I wanted to happen. I want her to change the state when that animation completes. And then all I had to do was make the decisions in this trigger wizard, and it came true. So I'm just hit OK. So when I preview this slide now, there she is, and she changes states. Right? Wonderful. So that's something that we've done in class. The other thing that we've done in class that is going to be very helpful is I want her to say something when she turns, right? So I'm going to say insert, and then it's a caption, because the caption is what everything looks like. And I make the selection, so now I'm going to draw it. And here's something neat that I didn't show you in class. I like to do it. You don't have to. But I'm going to go up to Format, right? So anytime that I have something selected here, you see that on my Format tab, I can click on it. I like to have a nice white background. I like my outline to be black, just like in the comic strips. I also, though, when I go to Home here, do you see how it has that S with the shadow highlighted? I don't care for that much. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that. So now when I type hello, oh goodness, I should also make sure that you can actually see it. So I'm going to use a color you can see. I'm going to say hello. And this is just a test because I want to show you. What I can do now is right click on that. So what I'm saying is I have a white background, a black outline, and then black text with no shadow text. I think that's fantastic. So I can right click on that and come down and say set as default shape. And the moment I can do that, it's as similar as we're going to get as to setting a style in Captivate. So now that I've done that, every time that I go up now to insert and then caption, you can see that it's exactly what I want it to be. Okay? So I'm going to hit delete on that. And maybe I will say hello. So I'm going to say, oh, hello. Have you seen Paul? And of course, you can see that I'm going to make it appear as though she's speaking to us, right? What I did here is it's center. I told you before I don't like center text. It's on you, how you want to do it. It's preferential. I'm going to go ahead and left align that. So I think that looks quite nice right there. Make it a little bit bigger. And there we go. Now here's something else that I want to show you. We've done this before in both Captivate and in Storyline in class. I know that this animation on, what's her name, Amber here, is 0.75 seconds. I don't want this caption to show up until she's come in and has relaxed a little bit, right? So I can say probably the same thing, show this when the animation completes. The other thing that I can do is pull it back on the timeline like we've done, which is fine. We can do that. That is a really efficient way to do it, okay? But another way to do it is to keep everything here, right? So everything's lined up just nice. And I can click on my caption. Then I can go to states. And this is something that's really nice to have, is before I hit edit states, you see I have this option here. It says initial state. And that is exactly what you think it is. What state do you want it to first appear in? And it's defaulted to normal, which makes total sense. You can see my normal state is the actual caption that I see on stage. But I can actually set that initial state to hidden. See that? So when I set that initial state to hidden and come back to my timeline, now I go to preview, even though that it's right here in front. Do you see that? I'm going to go hit preview this slide. And there she is. Even though that caption is in there, it's not showing up because we set it initially to hidden. And if you remember in Captivate, that's the equivalent of that eyeball that we had in the properties panel. So that's what that is. And now that we've done that, we can use a trigger to access it. So watch this. We want to say what? Let's say our sentence is, I want to show this caption when Amber here, our character, is in that turn state we created. That seems to make the most sense, right? So what I'm going to do then is go over to my trigger, create a new one, and then just answer the questions per the decisions I've made. So again, I want to change the state of what? I didn't name it. Okay, well, I'll just cruise down, rounded rectangular caption 1. Then I do want to change it to normal, right, because it was set to hidden. But when? I want to do it when Amber is in that turn state. So if I'm looking, I actually see state here. See that? So I can select state, and then it says on all of. And now I get to pick on what state, or excuse me, what object and what state. So like I said, I want Amber, so I pick character. Then down here it says is, and then now it's going to give me all of the states that I could possibly do. And you see at the top here is that turn state. So now it's just, look at my sentence. Change the state of that caption to normal when the state of character, see, when the state all of character is in turn. So I hope that makes sense. It's just one way, it's a different way to do it. I'm just going to hit OK. And please know that if you really just want to go down here and grab the timeline and do that, that is okay. I just want to give you some different options. So now we can see when I preview this, Amber comes on, she turns, and immediately there is our caption. Isn't that nice? So I'm going to hit close. And just so the videos don't get too complicated, I'm going to stop this one and I'll start another one here.